Hi everybody, I am making this video to help you guys navigate the Canvas page and get familiar with how to submit your assignments, how to take your assessment, how to watch your presentation, and have access to your lab activities and your PowerPoints. So I'm going to take one of the classes that is unpublished right now. But again, what I'm showing you is what you will see in terms of your student view. So right now I'm actually going to show you on Bio 155, but you might be a student in my Bio 250, 251, 260. It doesn't matter what class you belong to, the setup for the class will be identical. So will still apply to you guys as well. So what I'm gonna do again, I'm just gonna click on this. I'm assuming because you're watching this video, you already know how to access your Canvas. But if you do have any questions, you may email me directly, or you may contact the help desk to get more answers about your Canvas page. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you guys through what your typical page would look like when you guys log into your Canvas for our course. So typically, every course has this kind of a module at the beginning. When you log in, this is the page that will give you. This is basically how your information will be presented to you. That includes both your lecture and lab information. What I always try to start with is information about basically where you can get information if you need help with your internet access or with the SPS service or tutoring or library. There is this document that Mrs. Welcome to Bio 155. And again, it depends on your class. That title might be different, but the information presented in there would be identical for everybody. So I'm just going to click on that and show you what that information includes. Again, it's going to give you information about where the class starts and when it ends, how to access your course, and then some phone numbers about the course in general and the resources that you may have access to outside your course, and of course your instructor. Now, if you notice on the side of your page, you have this tab that has basically a number of options for you. So I'm going to walk you through several of these for the purpose of helping you basically navigate your Canvas page. So one of the important ones is the announcement. Typically I post at least one announcement a week. If you are a summer session, then the announcement might be a little bit closer together because of the pace of the class. But a typical announcement includes information about what possibly is coming up, any updates in terms of your schedule, or change in terms of your assessment and assignment due dates. So please keep an eye on your announcement. If you have the application Canvas for students on your phone, then anytime I will send you an announcement, you actually can receive a notification if you have set up your phone to receive those notifications. So that's a really good way for you guys to keep an eye on what's going on in your class and stay updated. The other option that you have, of course, is your grade option. This is a really good one because when I set up a class, typically it has all of your assignments listed in there, and it has the total points associated with each assignment. In addition, it also has the due dates for each of the assignments listed here. So it makes your job a lot easier in terms of where can I get that information and basically when the assignment is due. Now, the really good feature that you see here when you go to your grade option is that I can actually go in each of these assignments and enter my own grade. So if I, as an instructor, haven't graded your assignment, but you want to see how you will stand depending on how well you do in an announcement, you can literally input your own grade here and see basically what you need to get in each assignment to basically pass the course with a very specific grade. For instance, let's say all of these assignments would have been graded, and then you reach kind of to the end and you said, okay, how many points do I need to pass the class to the C? So all I need to do is say, let's say I'm taking my last exam. and I can literally input a score here. So let's say 90, and then it adjusts the total grade for the class. So this is what I mean by that. So this is a really good way for you guys, again, to keep track of your grade. Please do keep in mind that if an assignment is already graded, then you will not be able to change that. But any assignment that is not graded by me yet, that includes your assessments as well, then you can input your own grade. Anytime the assignment is done, anytime I'm done with the grading of the assignment, basically my grade will replace what you have placed in here. The other thing that you need to be very familiar with is your syllabus option. So again, syllabus is important because it gives you general information about the course, what we'll be covering, your student learning outcome, the kind of a breakdown for what is covered in each lecture and lab on a daily or weekly basis, depending on your setup. But also what it gives you, which is the really cool feature of your syllabus, is this feature right here. So you can see that it has it broken down to individual days and what is going to be associated in terms of assignment or assessment for that day. For instance, if you take a look at the first one, it says the first assignment for this class is due on June 26, 2020. What is due is a lab activity named Micromolecules of Life. And when is it due? It is due by 11:59. So I can simply, if I want to submit this assignment, I have done it and I want to submit it, all I need to do is click right here. And because this assignment is currently open for submission, all I need to do is go to Submit Assignment. And it allows me to submit a file. So I can choose a file. So let's say I'm going to choose a file from my desktop, Macromolecules of Life, attach it. You may leave me comments. For instance, let's say, oh, I have a student emailing me or sending comments that, oh, we're sorry, the printer, my printer wasn't working, the pages are not very clear. And I really honestly don't care about that. As far as I can figure out what I'm looking at, I'm okay with it. And then at the end, all you need to do is basically submit your assignment. Now, couple points about your lab. And again, this is regardless of what class you're talking about. Some of your labs, when you look at an assignment, these labs are documents that you can literally just download and type directly into the assignments. And that's perfectly fine. So it doesn't have to be handwritten. You don't need to print anything. There are, however, other labs where you need to have access to a printer to print a document, complete drawings or calculations directly into the lab, a hard copy of the lab, and then either scan or take a picture of it and then submit it, as you can see in this screen. So please do keep in mind that there are labs in this class that will require you to have access to a printer so you can print these labs. It is not all of your labs. I would say typically it's about maybe 2 or 3 labs for the duration of the semester, but that is still a requirement. So make sure you guys keep that in mind. Now, the other feature that I want to show you is the module option. So here, let's go ahead and click on this. And this is, I think, is also a very good way of you guys looking at what would be due for, again, each day or each week. So what you see right here is a breakdown of the class to a day-to-day lecture and lab activity, since this is a summer session. So let's take a look at this. I'm gonna come back again to show you what's on the top portion. So notice it says week 1, day 1, or sorry, day 2. I just noticed, but it's my day 1. So week 1, day 2, what do you need to do? So this is basically what is required for you to complete, review, or watch, depending on the actual type of activity. For instance, if you click on the first one, it says it's an icebreaker discussion. Now, it is due on July 7th for this activity, but you will have access to it a few days before the assignment is due. So this is basically telling you the latest you can turn it in is July 7 at 11:59 p.m. It also tells you how much this assignment worth. The next thing you have is a list of the PowerPoint. So this is your lecture basically for that day. This is the PowerPoint you will have access to. Right below that, you have a presentation option. And basically these always go hand in hand. You have a PowerPoint, and from that PowerPoint, I've created an asynchronous lecture, which is available as YouTube videos. So let me show you these two. Again, this is just an example, but it will be true for basically everything that you're going to do. So right here, it will give you this page. If I click on it, right now the page is trying to download, so you will see the PowerPoint directly in here. You also have the option to download the PowerPoint directly into your computer. I will strongly suggest for you guys to download it and save the PowerPoints, because when you are in this PowerPoint, now if you want to watch the presentation that associated with this PowerPoint, you need to go back to your original screen again. So if I just simply click next, it will take me to this page, which is, as it says, Chemical Basis of Life presentation. There's a YouTube link right here. So all you need to do is click on the link and it directly sends you to the YouTube page. Of course, you can always copy and paste it if you choose to, but by just simply clicking on the link, it should work just fine. So I'm just gonna demo for you guys what it will look like. So if I click on it, again, it should take you to the actual lecture. Hi, everybody. Today we are so I just wanted to show you this. So let's go back. Now, going back to the modules, which is again where you always want to go back to. The other options you may have is associated with your labs, right? So what I showed you in terms of these two, these are your lectures, and this is your lab activity for that day or for that week. So you have the lab activity. Again, I'm just going to click on it and show you what it would look like. You always need to download it, because if it's on this page right here, you cannot really type on it or you cannot print it. So always download your lab activity. If I just simply click next, it takes you to the presentation that is associated with that lab activity. So in this one, I'm demoing for you what you would have done normally in your lab setting to help you collect your data. And then right after that, you will have again your actual lab submission. So you have completed the lab, you have watched the video, you have answered the questions in the lab activity, and now you can submit the assignment. It tells you again another way for you to figure out where that activity is due. It tells you that it's due by Friday at 11:59. It worth 5 points. You are uploading a file. Again, doesn't matter if it's handwritten or typed, as far as the file is submitted. And again, it's telling you the availability of the assignment. So in this case, it was June 25th till June 26th. Moving on. Another thing that you can see in these activities is if you have a quiz associated with it that day for either the previous lectures or lab, it is also listed here. Another day, again, same concept. This is what you need to complete for your week 1, day 3, and you can kind of go on and on. Now here is a couple of points that you want to really focus on. On week 2, day 1 for this class, there is a lecture exam, which is lecture exam 1. So do you have a study guide for this class for each of your lecture exams? And the answer is yes. For that information, you have an actual full module that says a study guide, lecture exams, and it says exam 1 by 155, a study guide. So basically, you can just read the title and find the corresponding study guide for each of your lecture exams. Sometimes I do provide lab study guide as well. However, that's really rarely happen, as most of you guys are focusing on memorizing terminology, since this is an anatomy, mostly anatomy based courses, and not much physiology in there. And again, it's not true for every class, but for majority of the classes. Now, if I click on my lecture exam, so notice a few points about this. Again, it has the due dates. So you only have a specific day and time for you to complete the exam. Now, regardless of what class you are, your exam, if exam is scheduled for that day, again, no matter if it's a lecture exam or a lab exam or even a simple quiz, everything will be available from 8 a.m. on the day of the exam until 11:59 p.m. on that day. That gives you a 16-hour window to complete an exam or an assessment. Now, in this case, your lecture exam has 83 minutes time requirement, or that's the time that you're available to complete the exam. So let's say I have a student that has come in and it's 11 o'clock at night and they decided to start their exam then. But the exam time ends at 11:59. For that student, they're only going to get 59 minutes, even though their possible available time is 83 minutes. The reason for that is because when the due time reaches, it doesn't matter how much time you have left. Your exam will close and I will not open that exam. So please, if you are trying to take an exam, make sure to keep in mind how long the exam is. So don't start it because I will not give you any additional time if the due time has arrived. Again, this is plenty of time for everybody to take their exams or quizzes. So I don't accept excuses for people not being able to take it. So make sure you guys complete it. Find the time that works for you to take an exam that's an hour, 20 minutes within the 16-hour time block that you have. That being said, there's always exceptions to the rule. If something comes up, accidents, family emergency, kids sick, whatever the situation is, please contact me via email and I'll do my best. And I'm going to say, I do my best to accommodate you. That doesn't always mean 100% accommodation, but I'll do my best to accommodate you. So that's about it in terms of the essential points you want to reach. So one last time in terms of kind of wrapping things up, what you want to focus on is the announcement section of the course. You want to take a look at your grades to make sure you are keeping updated and making sure that the scores that are in there are correct. You want to look at your syllabus for the due dates and due times. And then lastly, modules for basically a day-to-day or week-to-week breakdown for your information. Last but not least, before I forget, and this is going to be true for all of the classes, if I was in a face-to-face setting, I would have never provided you guys with your exam and the answers to your exam questions unless you have showed up in my office hours. I do not, even if I was in a face-to-face class, I do not hand out my exams to students. So for you to view those, you need to actually come in person and talk to me. So I do keep my exam questions very close to my heart, and I do not allow the students to share them. Again, if you were in my face-to-face setting, you could not have your phone, you could not take notes, you could have come in, sat down with me on one-on-one or as a group and go over the questions, but you will not have access directly into those information or to your quiz or exam questions. So the same concept and policy applies in terms of an online class. You are more than welcome to come and talk to me during my office hours, set up a separate time for me to have a Zoom meeting with you to go over your exam. You can have a group and I can go over the exam questions as a group so you guys can figure out what you have missed, but you will not be able to see which questions you missed and what is the correct answers for those questions. That is a way for me to protect my questions as this is an online setup and it's difficult for me to control the setting. Lastly, depending on your class, you might actually be using some sort of proctoring system that will be built into the Canvas. And for those, you typically do need an ID, and you will be recorded to make sure that the exam time is basically dedicated to exam time, and there is no distractions or use of external resources while you're taking your assessments. So do keep that in mind. There is more on that as you go into your individual classes, and I will provide those information in your announcement.